A dinner table set up for 14 unsuspected guests in 1946. A patient undergoing experimental electrical stimulation in 1856. Austro-Hungarian sailors wearing anti-flash protection gear designed to protect the wearer from short-duration flame exposure and heat in 1916. A man and his creepy doll laid to rest. A doll with two faces. An unnerving clown in his room. Terrifying Halloween costumes of the 1930s. A startling image of a 9-year-old girl working. Two random children captured on film in the 1930s. The trophy heads of the Maori. Long before European colonisers arrived in New Zealand, the native Maori people were preserving the severed heads of the fallen. Known as the makabe, the heads were chopped off, boiled, smoked, dried in the sun, and dipped in shark oil, before being displayed or paraded around like trophies. The 25-year captivity of Blanche Monnier, when French authorities received an anonymous tip in 1901 that a woman was being held prisoner at an aristocrat's house in the city of Poitiers, they sent out officers to search the home. Behind the locked door of the pitch-black attic, they found a skeletal middle-aged woman lying on a straw mattress laden with her own excrement, while insects and rotting food littered the floor. The last moments of Regina K. Walters. Just before Rhodes murdered 14-year-old Regina K. Walters in an Illinois barn in 1990, he took a series of photos of her covering in fear as he moved in for the kill. Authorities found this photo and a collection of others, like it inside Rose's home, after he was finally caught several months later. The nuclear shadows of Hiroshima. The bomb's light and heat were so extreme that they bleached the city's exposed surfaces, except in places where an unsuspecting person shielded the buildings or sidewalk or bridge from the blast with their own body in their final moments alive. The ice mummies of the Lost Franklin expedition. The 134-man crew set out on 2 ships, determined to find the elusive shortcut to Asia, and thereby further up British trade. But soon after departing England in May, they were never seen again. It was only in the 1980s that an anthropologist finally found some of the buried bodies, preserved by the cold. On an icy island in the Canadian Arctic, Hartnell's twisted expression here makes for one of the creepiest images of seafaring expeditions ever taken. The creepy picture that foreshadowed the Columbine Massacre. On April 20th, 1999, the Columbine High School shooting left all of America in shock, after teenagers Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold massacred 12 of their classmates and 1 teacher before turning their guns on themselves. But perhaps the most chilling artifact uncovered in the wake of the shooting was their class photo, taken a few weeks before the massacre. The prelude to the Jonestown Massacre. Until the September the 11th attacks, the Jonestown Massacre was the single greatest deliberate loss of American civilian life in history. People's Temple cult leader Jim Jones convinced to his followers that the government was coming to kill them and take their children, and that swallowing a fatal dose of cyanide was the only answer. So on November 18th, 1978, 918 people died at the cult's Jonestown settlement in Guyana after drinking a poison-laced fruit drink. This creepy picture shows Jones in the centre and a number of his followers pleasantly enjoying life at the Jonestown, not long before the massacre. A harrowing demonic dummy, a frozen nightmare. Forget snowmen. This winter, build yourself a terrifying snow monster, like in this 1902 picture. Swedish dentists deliberately rotted out patients' teeth so that they could study the effects of candy. Human zoos were a popular feature of the international fairs and exhibitions into the 20th century. Colonialism reared its ugly head in many ways, especially during its height in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. One way white Europeans and Americans denigrated colonial subjects of colour was through so-called human zoos, exhibitions where people from exotic locations like Africa, Asia and South America were displayed in model villages. Often, these zoos appeared at the World's Fair and exhibitions, like the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904. One young man named Otter Benga, originally from the Congo, was even exhibited at the Bronx Zoo in 1906.